Hi, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. Videos where we dive into the highs and lows of living with a disability and together find our way to the center of the two extremes. My name is Miguel and today we're doing something a little bit different in that we're going to be reacting to a movie, Me Before You, that was adapted from a book with the same title by Jojo Moyes. So I've never done a video like this and I've been kind of shying away from talking about kind of relationships just because I think it's very complicated, or at least I make it complicated when it comes to disabilities. But I think this movie and especially this book does a really good job about discussing all the nuances that go through your head as a person with a disability and kind of what it means when you want to welcome somebody in or when you want to have a relationship, all of the things that you have to deal with internally before you can do that. For this video, I want us to watch a couple of trailers that just kind of show what the movie's about. The first one I'll just let run through, and then the second one I'll kind of stop it along the way.
Yeah, listen, I'm on it. And we can close this. Taxi! Yeah, we won't. Don't worry.
Do you have any experience of caregiving?
I've never done it, but I'm sure I could learn.
Then let's go meet Will. Will, this is Louisa Clark. Nathan will talk you through Will's routines and equipment.
You don't have to talk across me, Mother. My brain isn't paralyzed. Yet.
Just really quickly, in this scene, I don't think it shows on the other scene, so I want to talk about it. But this is their first meeting, right? Something that happens in the movie and in the book is that Will just does like these random noises, kind of throw Lou off balance and kind of shake her a little bit, and it's kind of funny, but it also plays into kind of what people think stereotypically a person with a disability would be like, and they talk about that in the book a lot. When she's thinking about accepting this job, they just have no idea what to expect. They're like, a person in a wheelchair, what does that mean? Is he just gonna stare at me all day? Like, what are we supposed to do?
Hi. What am I here for?
To cheer him up, I guess.
So I thought we could go out this afternoon.
My mother says you're chatty.
Yeah.
Can we strike a deal whereby you are very unchatty around me?
Good morning. Oh, he hates me. Every time I speak, he looks at me like I'm stupid.
To be fair, you are pretty stupid.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that yet.
Interesting choice of footwear.
What do you mean by that?
That can't be from around here.
Why not?
This is the kind of place people come to when they got tired of actually living.
I'm happy here.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't be. You only get one life. It's actually your duty to live it as fully as possible.
Will, can I ask you something?
I suspect you're going to.
Sorry, I'm being chatty again.
No, stay. Tell me something good.
When I was little, my favourite outfit was my bumblebee tights.
Bumblebee tights.
Black and yellow stripes.
Oh, dear God.
Didn't you ever love anything that much?
Yes.
Loving can hurt.
Please don't tell me you shaved off my eyebrows.
Either one.
Luke tells me you were a bit of an action man before.
Pat?
I bet if we got you on a really good fitness regime.
Patrick?
No, it's fine. Truth is, I thought I could crack this and then go back as if nothing had changed. I was wrong. Can I take you somewhere?
You are so going on a date with Will Trainer.
It's too baby.
Get the red dress out.
We keep this love.
I don't want to go in yet. I just want to be a man who's been to a concert with a girl in a red dress. A few minutes more.
Loving can heal.
It's his fourth bout in 2 years. The last one nearly killed him.
I promised my parents 6 months, and that's what I've given them.
But that was before me.
I want him to live, but only if he wants to live.
I can't just let this happen.
You can't change who people are.
I mean, what can you do?
You love them.
And if you hurt me,
You take care of him. He's a good one.
I don't want you to miss all the things that someone else could give you.
I can make you happy. I have become a whole new person because of you.
when I'm away.
Do you know something, Clark? You are pretty much the only thing that makes me want to get up in the morning.
Wait for me to come home.
So there's the trailer. I've watched this movie maybe two three and a half times maybe. The first time when it came out, because like I said, it met all of my criteria. Had Emilia Clarke.
She is my queen.
And it was a person with a disability. So I watched it and it just took me way by surprise. It was weird. I really saw myself in the character of Will. Maybe not so much at first, but especially after listening to the book, I understood where he was coming from completely the whole time. It's not fun when you can't do things by yourself. Obviously, I don't, I'm not a quadriplegic, so I don't know that side of it. I can't speak to it. But I do get that sense of frustration of just not being in control. He literally needs help doing everything. I think in the book and in the movie, they mentioned how he only has ability to move like his head and a couple of fingers in his hand. But other than that, he's pretty much reliant on other people. He went from being this extremely successful businessman and having everything, doing everything, to not being able to. And he just can't let that go. Through the movie, you just see that. He kind of grasps on, and he lives in the past. Will is very insecure when it comes to being fed in front of people or just being kind of the center of attention, because people look at him with pity. And that's definitely something that, as a person with a disability, you do come across, right? You do get looks. For me specifically, you know, it's hard just walking into like a restaurant or like a place where it's crowded, just because there's a part of you that's like, oh crap, like if I trip right now, like everyone's gonna see. Or when I do trip, in my case, like when I do trip, people do like, they're like, ah, and you can hear the gasps, and that just makes it, the whole thing, terrible. So I get that sense of just not wanting to be seen. But if I'm being honest, the main reason why I wanted to talk about this film and this book specifically is because of the relationship aspect of it and kind of what that means when you're a person with a disability, because it's not that simple. And I think this movie and the book do an amazing job at portraying that. There's just so many different variables. You know, you're welcoming somebody into your life, but you're also kind of sharing with them the burden of your disability. And that's just not an easy thing, right? Like if you care for someone, you don't want to throw burdens at them. If anything, you want to help ease their own. And I think that's kind of where the main struggle of this whole thing lies. But anyway, let's watch the second more extended trailer, and we'll just keep talking.
When I was a kid, this used to be my favourite place in the whole world.
I think this would still be my favourite spot.
That's because you haven't been anywhere.
Oh, so where's better than this then?
Paris. Place Dauphine, right by the Pont Neuf. If I shut my eyes now, I know exactly how it feels to be in that little square.
Well, so let's go. We could get on the Eurostar right now.
You don't get it, Clark. I want to be in Paris as me. The old me.
There she goes in front of me.
Tell me something good.
Use the time he's got left. Show him how good his life can be.
Will's barely left the house in 2 years. We have tried.
Yes, but we haven't succeeded. Will needs to be allowed to feel like a man.
Can I take you somewhere?
You are so going on a date with Will Trainer.
It's too baby.
Get the red dress out.
We'll make a memory out of it.
Lose the scarf. If you're going to wear a dress like that, Clark, you have to wear it with confidence.
Only you, Will Trainer, would tell a woman how to wear a bloody dress.
So in this scene, the line that his father says about him needing to feel like a man, again, every time I watch it, it kind of speaks to me, just because I think that is another struggle, right? Because having the disability means having to be reliant on other people, and as a man, you're there to protect, you're there to again help other people, and not necessarily be the one that's helped. So again, it's just kind of an internal battle when it comes to that.
Move closer. You smell fantastic. You know you never would have let those breasts so near to me if I wasn't in a wheelchair.
Yeah, well, you never would have been looking at these breasts if you hadn't been in a wheelchair.
What? Of course I would.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. You would have been too busy looking at the leggy blondes, the ones you can smell an expense account at 40 paces. And anyway, I would have been over there serving the drinks. One of the invisibles. Am I right?
Yes, but in my defence, I was an arse.
Yep.
Do you know something, Clark? You are pretty much the only thing that makes me want to get up in the morning.
Then let's go somewhere. Anywhere in the world, just you and me. What do you say? Say yes, Will. Go on.
Okay.
It's gotta get easier.
Man, this movie is really well acted. I don't know if it's just me projecting myself onto this character, but you really see him kind of fight the urge to say no. You see him fight the like to be able to say yes. You can really see in his face kind of how hard that was. Like, he obviously cares for her, but it's so hard to kind of break that wall or kind of go through it.
I can't. You can do anything.
This is another big aspect about the movie, kind of how Will sees a lot of potential in Lou, the potential that she kind of lost along the way, and in the book, like I mentioned, they go into more detail as to why that is. There's a reason why she is like that, but I find it so easy, so interesting how she's like, I can't do it, and he's like, you know, encourages her, like, yeah, you can do anything. And for me, I'm like, why? It's interesting why he can see that for her, but not for him, not for himself, which again just kind of adds on to how he views his disability.
I don't want you to miss all the things that someone else could give you.
So that's the scene that pretty much brings me to talk about this book and this film. When he says, "I don't want you to miss out on the things that somebody else could give you," along those lines. Man, that's the one that I just felt like the author kind of just took out of my own brain. I always managed to sabotage any relationship. Just because of that, right? I think ahead, and I like Will, like he was constantly thinking ahead of what it would mean not only for him but for Louisa to be in this relationship, and I think that's that's usually what kind of gets me. Just kind of, it's very easy to see all the negative. When you look ahead, it's hard to be able to kind of pinpoint the positives of everything, especially, like I said, when it comes to welcoming somebody into kind of your life.
I have become a whole new person because of you.
So on the first trailer, she says, "But I can make you happy." And that's another overarching thing, an interesting thing for her character, I think. Just because you realize as you watch this movie that you really can't change anybody, right? No matter how hard or how much you try, the person has to want it for themselves. there's a couple scenes that really kind of drive this home. One is like right away when so Will's ex is getting married to his best friend. They go and see him, and she tells Louisa that she tried to be there for Will after his accident, but he was just not allowing her to be there for him. So, and then there's another scene where Louisa talks to the physical therapist. She talks to Nathan, and she's so surprised that everyone's seemingly so willing to allow him to kind of want to take his own life. Oh, sorry, spoilers. He mentioned something along the lines of he wants Will to live, but only so Nathan wants Will to live, but only if Will wants to live. And I think that's kind of where the tension of the whole thing is. The fact that the people that surround him all want him to live and are all trying to get him to realize that he can have a life outside of this prison that he's built for himself. But he's just not seeing it. And in this particular scene, Louisa flat out tells him that there is a way. You know, she tries to convince him. She tells him that she loves him, and that they can make it work. And Will's response is that it's not enough. In the movie, he doesn't say that it's not enough, but in the book, he literally tells her that her love is not enough for him to want to live. Like I said, very heavy stuff. There's like an overarching thing that it didn't dawn on me until I had finished listening to the book. So there's chapters showing different people's perspectives, and I was like, that's weird. Like, it would have been so cool if they would have had a chapter with like from Will's perspective. Because the whole book and the whole movie, you see Will's life through somebody else. And I was like, that's the main issue for Will, right? That he doesn't have any semblance of control. It's always what somebody else thinks he wants to do, or what somebody else, wants for him. It's never him. And I like thought about this, and it clicked that the only chapter, or I guess the only portion of the story from Will's perspective happens at the beginning before he has the accident, because that's where he felt himself. The first time I watched this movie, I remember that I was pissed because I wanted him to live. I was rooting for him and being like, no, there is another life. You can have a fulfilled life. That's literally the purpose for me behind this channel. Is to show people that there is life beyond disability. I was pissed that he went, spoiler again, he goes through with it. And then again, reading it, listening to the book, and then watching the movie a couple more times, you realize that that's kind of it. That was his choice. That was literally the only choice that he felt that he had, because every other choice had been taken away from him. I don't agree with his decision, definitely, but I do understand where he was coming from. There's a scene where she's shaving his beard and like giving him a haircut, I guess, and she says something along the lines of like, most of the people in Will's life kind of see him maybe not even as a person anymore, right? Because there's like caretakers, he has appointments to go to, like his parents don't really know how to deal with his disability, and you kind of get this sense of disconnect. So she realizes that every person in his life doesn't see him as essentially a person anymore. And again, that kind of takes us back to why Will is so apprehensive of not letting anybody in, right? He doesn't want to feel less. He doesn't want to let people shave his beard or like, shower him or whatever, right? Because that goes against everything he had experienced before as far as being a man. So in the scene where Will flat out rejects Louisa, that's kind of the scene that really grabbed me, like I said, just because I understood him. But the movie like cuts some of the dialogue out, and you don't get kind of the sense of kind of the how given up Will actually is until you hear or you read the dialogue in the book. Because even me, like having watched the movie prior to listening to the book, I found myself still rooting for him in the book. I was like, maybe, you know, the movie changed the ending or whatever. Maybe he'll live. Maybe, you know, it doesn't have to end that way. But you get to this scene and you hear him talk, and, you know, I realize, I'm like, oh, he literally has no hope. He is in complete despair. I don't know if this is verbatim, so it's probably not, because I was, you know, listening to it and trying to type at the same time. So a paraphrase of what he says. He essentially rejects her, and he says, "I can't be the man I want to be with you. This will become another reminder of what I'm not." So again, thinking about how his life used to be, it's not enough. Not the life I want. It's not my life. I'm not the same as these people you speak to. So in that regard, in the book, Louisa goes through all the research and joins a group on Facebook with other quadriplegics. But when Will said that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because it kind of shows like his arrogant way of thinking. Louisa then is like, you know, this doesn't have to define you. Being in a wheelchair does not have to define you. And then of course Will mentions, but it does define me. I loved my life, my job, my travels, being physical. I'm not designed to be in this thing. No matter what anybody says, no matter how much love he feels for Louisa, the urge to just want it to end is just so much greater. And he says something in the, I don't know if he says it in the movie, but he says it in the book. I don't want to be in pain anymore, or trapped in this thing, or dependent on everyone, or afraid. I've felt these feelings that he's kind of voicing, and throughout the book and throughout the movie, he makes it a point that it's the future that he's afraid of. It's the future of him being constantly in the hospital because of complications. It's his fear of not being able to be with Louisa properly, or feel like he can really take care of her. So I guess in closing, I don't agree with his decision, even though I understand it, and the author does a really great job explaining why he thinks like that. I don't agree with it. As much as I see myself in him, I don't agree with his decision. I don't. Because there is hope. There's always hope. You just have to be willing to grab it. Have a great rest of your day, or rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next one.